Hello. Okay, this is the first episode on the Ford Bronco. I don't know what to call it. I'm thinking about calling it Ruby because it's ruby red, or it's actually a burgundy wine color. But we're going to look at the opportunities or shortcomings of the Badlands package, because I plan on taking this to Tennessee this year, I'm hoping, and I don't want to take it on trails so far from home unless I'm sure I can get back. And so we need to make some changes, and one of those changes is to make sure that we have skid plates that we need, and that we have the bumpers that we need, and we need a winch on the front, because I do not want to get trapped and not be able to get out of trouble. Okay? So let's look at some of the things that need to be changed. But first, I want to apologize. I mean, looking at my videos, our channel is called The Slab. And the reason it's called The Slab is because, like you, I work on the sidewalk, I work in the dirt, I work in the driveway, I work wherever it's available. I'm in Central Florida, and I sweat like a horse. I hate the heat, I hate the humidity, but my wife won't let me move. Right now, the air conditioner, I've got the largest 220 air conditioner that I could get out of Lowe's. And if you look, I've been working in the shop for 4 hours now. And what is it? It's still 92, 94 degrees. True, the air conditioner is knocking the humidity down, but I'm getting my butt kicked from the heat. And I wasn't born here, but I was raised here. And every year it gets harder and harder to make it through the summer heat. So I sweat like a horse, I look nasty, I've got dirt all over me, but I know that most of you guys don't have a shop, and you're working in the driveway, and you're doing what you can to make your adventure vehicle perform. And that's me. So don't judge me. Okay? I put on a nice clean shirt. Like I said, I've been out here for hours today, and this is my third shirt. That's how wet I get. Okay, so apologies over. You guys need to understand that I'm kicking it, trying to have fun, making fun things, implementing my ideas, and let's get into it. Okay, there's several things that we can address real quick. These Nerf bars, these OME Nerf bars, are pretty solid. Pretty solid for somebody that doesn't push the limits of their vehicle. So, what I've decided is this makes a good upper mount that ties to the body, and I'm going to get a OME set of running boards from Facebook Marketplace, and I'm going to run steel bar through the running boards, and I'm going to integrate it into this. So I'm going to tie into the frame as a slider, and I'm going to basically turn the running boards and this into a slider. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, the opportunities are plentiful. I mean, seriously, this Bronco is jacked. I mean, it is set up to be a world-class off-roader. out of the box, right? And this is the Badlands. I don't have the 35s. I don't have I don't have the sway bar disconnect, which I'm going to have to build one, a mechanical one. But I mean, the opportunities, this thing is really, really, really awesome. And potentially, there's nothing keeping you from putting 35s on the Badland Edition, because if you remove the crash bars on the front, everything fits. All right, so let's look at the rear bumper, because that's what I want to tack now. I don't even have a receiver hitch. I can't pull, I can't tow, I can't do anything because it didn't come as the package. I looked at the package and it's a bolt-on system that looks like what you would put on your Ford Taurus if you wanted to tow a U-Haul trailer, okay? So that's not gonna work. So let's see what we can do about turning this rear bumper, which is mostly steel but has a lot of plastic in it. Let's see what we can do about turning this into a bumper slash receiver that has the whole bottom end bulletproofed with steel. Let's take a look. All right, so this is what we have. We have plastic surrounds on the edge. We got a plastic step. This is metal. We've got a license plate boundary here that's plastic. Plastic continues, but it stops here. We got metal. And so what I'm looking at is I've got this cross member here. And I've got two bolts, large 18 millimeter bolts that just have a cover on there. There's no receiver. And these are the extraction hooks, tow hooks, whatever you want to call them. Got those on both sides. And then we've got a small 3/8 or the metric equivalent right there to move this off. So I see the opportunity to put in maybe a 2-inch square tube or a 2.5-inch square tube and weld in a receiver hitch. And why can't I bring that receiver hitch out and bring it to both ends and around the corner of the bumper, and basically trim the bumper so that I can weld the metal bumper and cut back the plastic, weld the metal bumper to this new receiver hitch that will be slash a receiver hitch and bumper. They'll become one piece, and if I drop the whole world on it, it's not going to move, it's not going to bend. So let me get some measurements, and once I get the measurements, I'll start tinkering with ideas, start looking at what I can cut out, what I can move. We're going to have to work around that license plate thing because I do not want to create one. I hope not. Hope I don't have to create one. Maybe if I give up 2 inches of ground clearance, I can put everything here and not have to move that license plate, and then just use some flat bar and bring it up to the metal bumper and weld it all in place and make it one gargantuan sub-assembly. that will come off with a few bolts. All right, so let me see what I can put together. Okay, so this is getting better and better. It's going to be easier and easier. So, after digging into this a little bit, I'm seeing, and I highlighted it in yellow because I've got the full retard thing going on, and I don't want to forget what my thoughts are. So, I highlighted it in yellow. There's a bracket that goes into that attaches to the frame and the cross member. And so I am going to pull all this apart, and I believe that I can install a tube, square tube all the way across, and adapt these brackets into it. I don't know if it's going to be easier to cut them and weld them in, or if I can just bolt them in. And that way I can maintain this steel and plastic bumper, which is lightweight, and it doesn't cost me anything. However, make it stronger so that when I fall off of rocks, that it doesn't bend the piss out of the bumper, and it will provide a good tow hitch for recoveries and for towing. So let me tear this thing apart and we'll see how easy it's going to be. True, I could go to China and get a Temu steel bumper. However, I don't know what I'm going to get. And they're still $450. And I don't know if it's going to hold up like I need it to. I'm sure it's probably 1/4 inch steel at the best, which would be what, 1/4 inch, 6 millimeter thick maybe. However, I know what I build is going to be strong enough to fall off the rock and not bend. So I'm not going to go with Temu, and because I know that some of these bumpers, you know, this bumper here is probably 30 pounds, you know, because it's mostly plastic and a little bit of steel. But if I can put 40 pounds of steel bar in here, tube, and come in underweight than what a Temu or even a US built bumper will weigh, I'm sure that they come in at 100 plus. So let me see what I can build, and I'm certain that it's going to be cheaper and lighter than what I could order on the internet. All right, so stand by. Okay, I'm also up under here looking at what I need to do to protect this transmission pan, and I am pleasantly surprised that what I'm going to do is I am going to make a cage, because I only need the protection on here to make sure that this thing doesn't climb over and then land on a rock and the only thing supporting it is the transmission pan. So I'm going, instead of making a pan, I've got everything I need here to make a cage. Check this out. So, let me see. Can you see it? So I've got my exhaust right here. Can you see it? Yeah. And then I've got these brackets that are part of the transmission cross member brackets. I'm just going to take and make a cage from this bracket here that's for the that's part of the sway bar. I'm going to bring a cage across here, I'm going to bring a cage across here and then one down the middle. And so if there is some freak of nature and I get some crazy pointy rock or maybe an I-beam from a copper plant that was built in the 1800s that goes up between that cage, then so be it, right? Okay, but I think I'm going to be able to put maybe 2, 3 ribs, 4 ribs, and fully protect this. And then it's still accessible that I can get into it if I need to maintain something. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So, I am now ready to start the project. I got some steel, got some 3/16 by 4-inch plate, and I got some steel which is 3x2 3/16 square bar. And I believe that I'm going to be able to get this up, take these hoops off, and I'll see how close one of those bars is to fitting across the bottom. So that bumper comes off with 2 10 millimeters and then 4 of the larger bolts that hold the bumper on through the tow hooks. So looking at this, we can see that there's all kinds of support bracketry going through here to give this bumper some structure. And so what we need to do is we need to look at, this is the mount, we need to look at including more steel in here to protect this whole under section. So let's start ciphering that. Alright, so now I'm going to put this 3x2 and I'm going to put it up here, and I'm also going to put it underneath the truck, and I'm going to find out which profile works best. Does the 2-inch high profile work best, or the 3-inch high profile work best? So let's get to it. Now I'm at the point of no return. I mean, because I'm going to be cutting this bumper up, and I'm going to do as little as I can first, and then expand it as I need to get this cross member embedded into the structure of the bumper. So what I've got is, it's pretty close to this edge here, which happens to be like the dropout, and so I'm going to start there and then move along and cut this out. That way I can recess my cross member onto here so that it lays flat on this bracket, because this is the bracket that bolts into the frame of the Bronco. All right, so man, I'm gonna dig into it. Wish me luck. Okay, work has got to stop. Mama's got to take the truck out. Okay, or I should say the Bronco. So let me show you where I'm at. I got this tucked up in there. It's looking pretty good. I've got more stuffs to do. Let me show you. Okay, I got that tucked up in there, and plenty of room. I'm gonna look at tapering this up into the bumper, get a little more clearance, and then I'm going to fit the receiver. So I got to get this tightened up and get the lights hooked up so that she can drive this to an appointment. All right, so we've made some good progress, and I had the receiver done and fitted. Now I did cut it back, so this is where it's going to start angling up into the ends of the bumper. So I cut this back so I can put the angle pieces in. The receiver hitch is all welded in. You can check that out. And this is going to go in place of the receiver, and this support here is going to be welded into the sheet metal of the bumper and the brackets. Now this paint is just temporary. I just wanted to keep it from flash rusting, because with the humidity down here, that every day I was having to buff the get the rust off of it, and this is just going to minimize some of that for me until I get down to the final painting. And when I final paint it, I'm going to do what I did with the running boards on the Cherokee. I'm going to use Rust-Oleum implement, farm implement primer, and then I'm going to put down farm implement black, and then I'll put some texture on it with the Rust-Oleum bed liner, and then clear coat it. I mean, that clear coat is some really hard material, and that clear coat makes a big difference on how long the paint holds up under UV, etc. So I'm going to do that to the whole bumper once I get it all fused together. Today I'm going to work on these two end pieces, and I'm also going to work on welding the main forward brackets into this bracket so that they're all one piece and they support each other. And so let's get busy on that. All right, so I just tied in all these sheet metal support brackets. One's like in the center. These two big ones here actually are part of the bumper mount, so we're gonna weld our receiver into that, and basically I tied these all in. And if I ever have to take this apart for any reason, you should be able to fish the wiring harness out of there without removing the brackets, the support brackets or structure brackets. But if you need to get in there, just cut them out. I mean, this is a lot simpler than trying to make brackets on the receiver hitch and then drilling and putting push nuts in them, etc., to try to get it all to work together. It's so much easier just to weld them in, tack weld them in. And then if you need to pull it apart for some reason, like if somebody plows into you and crunches your bumper and you want to put the same nasty sheet metal bumper on there, then maybe then you would need to take those apart. But that's where we're at now. Now I'm going to get this cleaned up and get ready to put supporting brackets in here to tie this original bracket into our receiver hitch. Now remember, this receiver hitch actually has a nut fastener, not a nut, a bolt fastener that goes right into the frame, and then we're going to retain the other one, but we're going to put some support brackets in there. So it's been like 2 weeks since I've been able to come back to the Bronco, and let's look at what we got as a reminder. We got the receiver hitch in there. Everything looks pretty good. It's not final painted. I just put some black paint on there to keep it from rusting. But now I'm going to do the end caps. And the end caps, so the end caps are 2" by 3/16, and they've got a 15-degree taper. And what this allows us to do is the sheet metal bumper mount in that corner, we wanted to make room. The 2x3 would push that out, and I didn't want to have to cut that and redo it. So with the 2", I'll be able to basically tap this tube here and then just run that sheet metal bracket right into this, and so that'll tie it all together. But we are going to have to cut the bottom edge out so that we can taper this up into the bumper. And one of the things that we're going to do is this is going to taper up. Just imagine that this flat part here is the bumper, this line here. And I want to be able to put a farm jack, which is over there in the corner. I want to be able to put that on here and lift from the corner. I don't know if you've ever been off-road and you got a long travel suspension. A bumper jack needs to be really tall because you invested all that money into a long travel suspension, and now you need like a really crazy tall bumper jack or farm jack to get that up in the air. So I've planned for that, and what we're going to do is we're going to put an end plate on this that will also weld into the sheet metal, and I'm going to cut it just a little bit past the tube, and that way my bumper has, or that way my farm jack has a support so that it won't slide off, because you don't want it to slide off because that's dangerous. The jack could kick back on you and basically take your head off, or the vehicle could slide uncontrollably and fall away. So I'm going to put this on there also for the farm jack, and then I've got 1/2" by 1/2" solid rod, square rod, that I'm going to put here also so that just in case the farm jack can't slide the other direction, but it'll be low profile. So let me show you how this is going to go in to the bumper. So basically, I've got a 15-inch taper, and it's going to taper up in there, and it's pretty close to being right anyway, but I need to cut a little bit out, and then I'll be able to run this in and put that tab on there for the farm jack. So I'm going to cipher it out here, trim the bumper a little bit so that I feel good and comfortable about how that's setting in there, and then I'm going to remove everything, put it on the workbench, cut it up, weld it in. I wanted to also bring up that in the past, you know, I don't do this as a job, and I'm not trying to make money at it, but occasionally I need to get some seam sealer, and the stuff that you buy in the tubes, it's a one gun and done type of thing, because these things, a tube of adhesive might be 20 bucks, and I only use a quarter of a tube at the most, and then it sits around and sits around and sits around, and if it goes past a month, you can almost be certain this whole thing is going to harden up and you're going to have to throw it away. So I've lost a lot of money with seam sealer. So I saw on another YouTube channel that these guys are using 2-part seam sealer, and so that's what I'm going to start using. I'll let you know how it goes, but basically the hardener only mixes as you use it, and then everything that's in the cartridge stays separate from the hardener, and it should be indefinite shelf life, right? Okay, because I use panel bond, and I use some rubber and plastic 3M bonding material. I've got that stuff, some of that stuff that I use sparingly. It's a couple of years old and it's still good. All right, so this is definitely going to be an improvement for me, and it might be something you want to consider too, unless you're going to use seam sealer and then never use it again, and so you don't care if it goes bad. Another thing, and it's in the video, I was doing some welding upside down, and a cherry dropped on my gloves or on my hand, and the palm of my gloves are leather, but the backing side is plastic polymer, and it burned right through the plastic, lodged between 2 fingers. I tried to shake it off, and if I can find it in the video, I'll play it back. Tried to shake it off, but all it did is it traveled down the rest of my finger and put like 3 burns on my left hand ring finger. All right, so that's the second time that I've been burnt in the last month with welding cherries dropping down. So I wised up. I'm stubborn because I don't like welding gloves because they're so thick and bulky, you can't do anything with them. So I got the thinnest, lightest set of welding gloves that I could find. I was trying to find some leather workout gloves that are all leather, and I couldn't find any, at least not on Amazon. And so this is what I came up with. Hopefully this works for me. Hopefully I have the patience to put them on. So just to let you guys know, the more that you are working in this stuff, the more likely you are to get hurt. So you need to really emphasize safety. That's like when it comes to grinding, I never put a mask on during grinding because I always had some kind of glasses. However, anytime that I was grinding, it was frequent that I would get a little piece of sand or a little piece of metal that would get past my glasses, and I could just walk it off, and it was never a big deal. But I realize now, since I'm grinding every day, my likelihood of having a bad accident goes sky high if I don't use the safety stuff that I need. So normally I put on the safety mask and all that other stuff because the frequency and the time that you're spending doing these semi-dangerous activities, the more likely you are to get hurt if you're not doing it safely. All right, so what I'm setting up here is I am going to do the final burn-in of the original bumper brackets, the ones that are the structure for the sheet metal bumper. I'm going to burn those in, and that way everything will be one big piece. And when I did it prior, there was one edge that I didn't catch on each one of the bumpers or the bumper tabs, so I'm going to do that now. And then I'm also going to make sure after I do the welding that all the slotted bumper holes line up with what I also created. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm welding the end caps on that are going to capture the farm jack and keep it from sliding off the ends. This will strengthen everything up. I'll also tack weld all this into the sheet metal of the bumper, and everything will be a uniform one-piece assembly. And this goes pretty quick, and it is easy to do. All right, so I need to get this video finished up, but I wanted to show you something first. I purchased the front winch kit that I'm going to put together. I got this universal plate, mounting plate for a winch on Amazon, and I also got a fairlead, an aluminum fairlead to go with it. It all goes together. The plan is I want to cut this down, and I want to get a low profile winch set into the original bumper, and I want it to be back as far as possible. Everything that I see on the market is a direct bolt-in winch assembly, and because of that it mounts to where the toe loops are on the front plate. And to do that you have to push everything forward because the winch mount, the brackets, everything bolts to that, so it bolts to the front of the bumper. And I think you're giving up a lot of approach and departure angle on the front end by doing that. So I'm going to integrate this into the frame and into the bumper. So I'm going to work on that, but I think first I'm going to do the cage for the transmission pan. So I'm going to get on that next. I'm going to see what the possibilities are for me to make these affordable pieces and sell them to the public on my website, rocklawrencevintageautoparts.com. I'll let you know as they come out, and I'll do installation videos with those also. Okay, I got temporary paint on there to prevent it from rusting until I can get this all pulled apart again, because it'll probably take a day because I got to wait for the paint to dry and the seam sealer to set up. But this is what I've finished up with. Here is the new end pieces that go on there, and this is going to grab and capture the high lift jack. I put 1/2 inch shackles on there in order to replace the original ones that I had to take off in order to mount the receiver, and everything looks good. Let's get this thing jacked up and I'll show you how well it works. You won't be able to do this with your original bumper, but you can with this support system. right, so look at that there. Now I did I put a chuck behind the other wheel because I knew it was going to roll, but that is completely off the ground. So no deflection on this receiver slash support, and it'll do either side, and it will tow. Now there's not going to be any tow rating on this. I am certain that it will tow as much as the OEM receiver will tow, and with the extraction shackles and everything else is on there, I'm fully confident that this is more substantial and stronger than what Ford offers. All right, let's get this posted. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like.